chair occupant, principal officers of the University of Port Harcourt were online or were in this program, distinguished guests, distinguished professors, colleagues, mentees of late revered professor. Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to welcome all viewers, all participants all over the globe to this very significant intellectual and moral engagement focused on a mindful campus, building a compassionate and socially intelligent university community. This webinar, conveyed under the auspices of the Nimi Briggs Professorial Chair of Obstetrics and Gynaecology, speaks to one of the most urgent questions in contemporary university life. How can our campuses become not only centers of knowledge and of human flourishing? Distinguished colleagues, as we all know, universities are traditionally seen as spaces for the pursuit of truth through reason, research, and rigor. Yet, in our time, we must go further. We must also cultivate emotional intelligence, social awareness, and psychological resilience, qualities that enable our scholars and students to thrive amid the pressures of modern life. Before I continue, I want to pay a very significant tribute to my teacher and predecessor, Emeritus Professor Nimi Briggs, who instituted this professorial chair in the University of Port Harcourt. Professor Nimi Briggs was more than an academic. He was a beacon of excellence, humility, and service, a man whose life work bridged medicine, education, and humanity. He devoted himself to the advancement of knowledge and the betterment of society. May his soul continue to rest in perfect peace. A truly mindful campus is one where intellectual brilliance is harmonized with compassion, where the stress of competition gives way to collaboration, and where mental health is regarded not as a private struggle, but as a collective responsibility. The University of Port Harcourt stands at a defining moment in its evolution. As we deepen our commitment to research, innovation, and global competitiveness, we must equally reaffirm our dedication to emotional and social well-being of every member of our community. The challenges of the 21st century, ranging from digital overload and social alienation to economic uncertainty and ethical erosion, demands from all of us not just technical expertise, but also moral intelligence and mindful leadership. This is why this ongoing mindfulness-based stress reduction study under the Emeritus Professor Nimi Briggs Professorial Chair is both timely and transformative. It aligns with our institutional vision to nurture not only the mind, but also the spirit to shape graduates and professionals who are emotionally balanced, socially aware, and ethically grounded. Let me commend Professor Ngozi Orazulike, the chair occupant, and our research team for this forward-looking initiative, and acknowledge the scholarly insight of our guest speaker, Professor Jude Eri, whose work in psychiatry and mental wellness continues to illuminate pathways towards holistic education and humane institutions. In conclusion, I wish to affirm that the University of Port Harcourt is fully committed to building a compassionate, inclusive, and socially intelligent campus. We shall continue to invest in programs, research, and policies that foster mental well-being, gender sensitivity, and supportive academic environment for all. I thank you all for your participation and wish all of us, a very fruitful deliberations. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. God bless the University of Port Harcourt. Thank you. Professor Abraham George, Vice Chancellor, University of Port Harcourt. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our highly erudite and digital Vice Chancellor. You have said it all already, and you have set the tone for this webinar to continue. You did pay tribute to your mentor and teacher, Emeritus Professor Nimi Briggs. So we'll follow through immediately with a short video clip of him, because so many people in this audience may never have met him. It will show us the charisma of the person we're talking about today. So please, 1 or 2 videos we're going to play of Professor Briggs, then I'll give my opening remarks. Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you, our digital Vice Chancellor. I don't know how you do it. It seems like you have the gift of bilocation. As alluded some of the saints, you are always on time, on point, and you can be at the same place at different times. Thank you so much for your multitasking ability. Videos, please. Thank you.
I became professor, and you appointed me professor and head of the Department of Obstetrics and Gynaecology. Then the College of Health Sciences, first there was some problem. They elected me acting provost. I acted as provost. Then the college eventually now elected me provost of the college. Then there was a problem at the university. I was appointed acting vice chancellor. I acted for 1 year, 3 months. The proper vice chancellor was appointed. Another problem came again in the university. They called me again to become acting vice chancellor. I acted for 6 months. Then the university made me the vice chancellor. Then I retired, and the university appointed me emeritus professor. And today, you give me the highest honor in the university. There are 2 ways of obtaining a DSc from a university. I can come and sit an examination, and whether I have poo-pooed all over the university, whether I have messed up everywhere in the university, if I pass the exam you set for me, you must give me the DSc. But when you get a DSc as an honorary degree, it means that you have affected that institution deeply. It is not given because you wrote an exam, no. It is given because your entire lifestyle has qualified you for that position. So when I look at what the University of Port Harcourt has done for me today, there is no other person in the Nigerian university system whose story is the same as mine. None. Two that come close are the late Professor Teken Atamuno and the current Professor Ayabanjo, and I will explain.
So this shows us just a little bit of the man, Professor Emeritus Nimi Briggs. He has the gift of gab. And I can also tell you that he didn't joke with his mental and physical health as well. Please just indulge us. We'll play another video to show you what we're talking about before we continue.
Can I do one more time?
Yes. This is Emeritus Professor Briggs. Professor Briggs. Yes, so over 70. Good example. Very good example.
Good.
Awesome.
That other short video clip just showed him exercising in Pleasure Park in Port Harcourt, and it was amazing what he could do at over 70 years whilst exercising. He took very good care of his mental health. So quickly, without wasting much time, I'll just go ahead and give my opening remarks. The Vice Chancellor, University of Port Harcourt, Professor George Will, the principal officers of the university here present, past Vice Chancellors and Pro-Chancellors of the University of Port Harcourt, the family of Nimi Briggs, his wife and his children here present, our distinguished guest lecturer today, Professor Jude O'Hary, the Provost of College of Health Sciences, the deans of faculty of clinical sciences, student affairs, and all other deans of the university, the head of department and units, center directors, professors, all academic and non-academic staff of the university, captains of industries, gentlemen of the press, unique stars of Uniport, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. My name is Ngozi Orazulike, occupant of the Nimi Briggs Chair of Obstetrics and Gynaecology, University of Port Harcourt. I'm delighted to welcome you to this first webinar series honoring the enduring legacy of Professor Emeritus Nimi Briggs, a doctor, a teacher, researcher, mentor, ace university administrator, moralist, and shrewd philosopher who occupied a significant space in his lifetime. As we gather here today, I would like to explain the terms chair and chair occupant. Because in the course of publicizing this webinar, the question came up repeatedly, and I know most of our audience are not in the academia, so they may not really understand what we're talking about. A chair is a prestigious high-level faculty position in a university that recognizes a distinguished professor's significant contributions to their field and is often funded by an endowment from a donor, which could be individuals, corporations, or foundations. The Nimi Briggs Professorial Chair of Obstetrics and Gynaecology was endowed in recognition of his significant contributions to scholarship and research. This includes, and is not limited to, women's health, medical education, university administration, the electoral process and politics, national development, and health. This chair ensures that its academic excellence, mentorship, and meritorious service to humanity continue to impact future generations in perpetuity. Now, the occupant emphasizes the professor who has distinguished himself or herself in the field they represent currently, filling that established role to drive this research and other activities. Since the activation of the chair in 2023, the Nimi Briggs Legacy Lecture Series was instituted. We have held 2 legacy lectures so far. The first in 2024, bordered on university administration. And we had an erudite speaker in the person of Professor Peter Okebukola, the former executive secretary of the Nigerian Universities Commission. The second in February this year hinged on health and was delivered by Associate Professor Ibrahim Wada, a consummate obstetrician and gynecologist and an in vitro fertilization guru. The third will come up in February 2026. We already have a captivating speaker who will be unveiled as the time draws closer. Today, however, we launch the webinar series with Professor Harry as our guest speaker. We have ongoing research, but this is domiciled at our website, which we'll share the details later. I want to share a story with us about Ajibola Ibitayo. He was a 200-level dentistry student who committed suicide at the Obafemi Awolowo University in Nigeria due to academic pressure, having failed a key examination twice. You can imagine the trauma the parents of this student would have gone through, his siblings, his colleagues, and even the lecturers that taught him. They would have been held up with a lot of guilt feelings. They may have even needed therapy. I'm sure they had therapy. This story still gives me goosebumps when I read about it or other mental health issues that students suffer, not only students, even lecturers. And it highlights the need for better mental health support and improved support systems within families and educational institutions in Nigeria. So today's webinar, A Mindful Campus, Building a Compassionate and Socially Intelligent University Community, was bettered amidst this background. And I'm not surprised it generated huge interest, judging by the diversity of our audience, signifying that the gown has come to town today. So researchers at the Nimi Briggs Professorial Chair secured a third-for research grant to explore the effectiveness of a mindfulness-based stress reduction program in promoting mental well-being and resilience amongst university students at the University of Port Harcourt, where Professor Nimi Briggs was acting Vice-Chancellor twice before becoming the substantive Vice-Chancellor, as we saw in the video he told us himself. So I hope this partially answers the question thrown at me by the guest speaker on what obstetricians and gynecologists are doing in the field of psychiatry. A saying goes thus: if you want to go fast, go solo. But to go far, you need to go in solidarity. So my gratitude goes to those who have been in solidarity with us at the Nimi Briggs Professorial Chair as we planned this webinar, and includes our very erudite digital Vice-Chancellor, who has always given us the enabling environment to perform. The amiable Professor Jude O'Hary for accepting to deliver this webinar at such short notice. I have never met you physically, sir, but thank you very much. The entire Briggs family of Abonema, notably his wife and his children, Nina, Kika, and Boma, I'm sure they're in the audience, they've continued to support the perpetuity of this chair. The University Management, Department of Obstetrics and Gynaecology implementation committees of the chair, and researchers at the Nimi Briggs Chair, thank you for your dedication and steadfastness. Our generous donors who contribute their hard-earned finances to support ongoing research by the chair, we are indebted to you all and will never disappoint you. The webinar organizers, especially the tremendous IT support team from my core personal IT team, you know yourselves. Thank you very much. By the way, this is not the vote of thanks, but I just have to conclude by thanking the people that helped us. My husband and my sons, my greatest cheerleaders, thank you. To all of you present this morning, it underscores the importance of this topic. I invite you to join us to create exciting strategic partnerships, not only to promote the great legacies of Professor Emeritus Nimi Briggs, whose chair I occupy with pride, but also the laudable vision of the unique University of Port Harcourt. But most importantly, contribute our own quota towards leaving the world a little bit better than we met it. Please sit back, don't be in a hurry, and enjoy the rest of our webinar. Thank you very much, Professor Ngozi Claire Orazulike, Chair Occupant, Nimi Briggs, Professorial Chair of Obstetrics and Gynaecology. Thank you very much. Over. We're going to have next the citation of our guest speaker, Professor O'Hary, and this will be done by no other person than Professor Prince Will Stanley, another eminent and erudite psychiatrist of the University of Port Harcourt. Professor Stanley, please, are you ready for us to give us the citation? The citation is very brief. It doesn't cover at all what Professor O'Hary stands for, but let us make do with it. Thank you. Yes. Professor Stanley.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Are you hearing me? Hello?
From my end.
Hello? Are you
Hello,
hearing
sir.
me?
So
you
we can hear
me?
you. Yes, go on, please.
Thank you. It's
Yes,
my
sir.
great pleasure to present an ultra-short citation on Professor Jude Uzoma O'Hary on this occasion of the first webinar series in recognition of the Emeritus Professor Nimi Briggs' contributions to humanity. Professor Jude Uzoma O'Hary, MBBS, Fellow Medical College of Psychiatry, Fellow West African College of Physicians Psychiatry, MD Ibadan, Fellow Royal College of Psychiatrists UK, Doctor of Science Ibadan, and Fellow the National Academy of Medicine. Professor Jude O'Henry, a 1978 alumnus of the University of Ibadan, on attaining the rank of a professor of psychiatry in Ibadan in 1994, proceeded abroad for greener pastures for over a decade. But on return, he moved back to the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, where he served and was engaged as a contract staff. He had undertaken a great deal of research in various aspects of psychiatry, while his major interest remains in general adult psychiatry with a focus on the psychopathology of severe mental disorders and somatization, as well as contribution to the biological variables that actually maintain various changes in the etiology and management of long-term outcome of these disorders. With relationship to this presentation, his quality of life studies concern the contribution of psychosocial variables to the etiology and management of mental disorders. His current focus is on psychiatric genetics, especially molecular. And as a clinician, his interest is in general adult psychiatry and psychotherapy. As a renowned teacher, he's involved in inculcating the ideals of scientific rigor and evidence-based medicine in Nigerian psychiatrists, and in curriculum development and methods of teaching at undergraduate and postgraduate levels. He has done a great deal of work. And these days, he takes leisure in listening to music, classical ones, and reading widely, and equally having intensive relationship, association with the grandchildren to understudy them. It is therefore my great pleasure to most respectfully present to you this doyen of psychiatry and a quintessential teacher, a consummate administrator, and a researcher of note, Professor Jude O'Henry, for the first webinar series of Emeritus Professor Nimi Briggs.
Thank
Professor
you very
O'Henry,
much.
sir. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you very much, Professor Stanley, for that ultra-short citation of our guest speaker. Please, can we now sit back and listen to Professor O'Henry? Thank you very much, everyone.
Want to meet yourself? Okay.
Okay. Can we share my screen now?
It's coming up, sir.
Okay.
Okay, it's up now. Can you see it?
Right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm really blessed by having this opportunity to talk to this wonderful community. I would have honestly said that the Vice Chancellor's introductory speech would constitute the meat of this presentation.
I agree.
If I had his speech, I think I would have just focused on it and told you, thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you, my dear Vice Chancellor. I've not met you before, but I'm told that you are a pharmacologist. And this is one of the unique features of University of Port Harcourt. Thank you, sir. Next slide, please. Next slide. So unique Uniport, I greet you all. The Vice Chancellor, University of Port Harcourt, Professor Unari George Will, the principal officers of the university, and I'm observing all other protocols, and all members of this unique community in Port Harcourt, which we call the Garden City of Nigeria when I was a kid growing up in those parts, and all other members of this audience. I bring you greetings from my village in Owerri, where the organizers somehow located me from the clouds and honored me with the opportunity to fulfill myself by delivering this lecture in memory of Professor Nimi Briggs. Next slide, please. One of my claims to fame is that in his last years, I was privileged to work with Professor Briggs as a foundation member, Board of Trustees, Nigerian Academy of Medicine, where I was enabled to breathe the fresh air of his humility, his wisdom, and erudition. And just to give you a measure of his sense of national service, he actually delivered our first annual lecture. And he came from hospital, believe me, he was sick in Abuja, and his wife was by his side. This man was fantastic. Now, I'm also seeing that from what he presented, I didn't know that he had quite another thing with me. That is, he mentioned his mentor, Professor Teken Atamuno. Please let me say a bit about that, because it means that myself and Professor Briggs had some closeness, because we were of the same generation anyway. And we didn't know that. Professor Teken Atamuno was my VC. He signed my MBBS certificate. But as fate will have it, he also became my personal friend. And I'm emphasizing that. What's my evidence for that? Now I have a little book called Tombs of Awakening from Africa. Professor Teken Atamuno took time to read that book in manuscript form and wrote a foreword. That book is available. And he actually found that my story and his were similar in a creature that he created. I don't know whether you ever read Professor Tamuno, the historian. His great character was called Afori. So the character I was portrayed in that book was like his own Afori. So myself and Professor Nimi Briggs, it appears that we contacted ourselves at even higher levels. So it's my greatest honor. May his soul rest in perfect peace. I would like to thank the organizer, Professor Ngozi Orazulike, occupant of the chair, and her team for inviting me, as well as my colleagues at the Department of Mental Health, especially my bosom friend, Prince Stanley. Prince will tell you that we are very close people. And then Frances Aduku, whom we are very proud to have produced for Nigerian psychiatry. Frances is going a long way in biological psychiatry, which I have promoted in our country. One of my other claims to fame. Next slide, please. Unique Uniport. You are truly unique in several ways, especially in your motto, enlightenment and self-sufficiency, and in your philosophy of promoting academic freedom and tolerance, mindful and respectful of your multicultural environment. In other words, you are not really taking for granted the peaceful and productive atmosphere upon which the community was founded and in which you are now flourishing. By the title of this lecture, you are determined to see that this foundational atmosphere is deeply embedded in the consciousness and DNA of the community. Furthermore, you are unique in trying to use the methods of psychological science in socially engineering a harmonious working environment, as in the ideals of social psychology and social psychiatry. Another unique feature of Uniport is that this scientific psychological method of social engineering is coming not from psychology and psychiatry, but from obstetrics and gynecology and also pharmacology. Now, as one of the most senior psychiatrists working in Nigeria today, and also I'm privileged to be the chairman, board of trustees of the Association of Psychiatrists in Nigeria, I think I am officially in a position to wholeheartedly welcome this move on behalf of psychiatry, Nigerian psychiatry. Our prayer is that this unique consciousness in Uniport should permeate our national life in Nigeria and help us to become an enlightened and compassionate society, living peacefully in self-sufficiency and prosperity. We say amen. I should begin by explaining the title of this lecture by saying that the terms social intelligence and emotional intelligence are actually interrelated, where emotional intelligence is a personal level of emotional functioning upon which the attributes of social intelligence are then built. And those attributes are to help us to harmoniously adjust to the vicissitudes of life in the larger community. I use the word built. Previous slide, please. Previous slide. I use the word built deliberately because emotional and social intelligence can be learned as behavior, as I hope to show in the course of the lecture. So that in line with the word mindful that is in the title, this indicates that a harmonious, productive living in the community is a situation that we hope to be to fully and deliberately conscious of enabling in an enduring manner. In other words, it's not just a half-baked or wishy-washy or random affair. You need to be focused. This community, led by the Vice Chancellor, has put their foot in that direction. And thank you very much. This is a national service. We need to reproduce this in the country. That's how to build a proper nation. Now we are talking about emotions we are talking about intelligence in a topic that is situated in the emotional body. So we need to clarify what we really mean by intelligence and how it relates to our topic. Generally speaking, you can say that in general, intelligence is the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. These are attributes that can be manifest in various domains of life functioning, such as scholastically, like we are, many of us in academic pursuits. That's our thing. But there's also intelligence manifesting in the emotional area, as in our personal lives and in our social relationships. You find that some of us are the most brilliant people, but they are not able to live in peace with their neighbors. That means they are lacking in that emotional intelligence. Intelligence is also available when we are trying to adjust to the vicissitudes of life, such as social adversities. Some people are very strong in being able to surmount obstacles. Some people are weak, Then you have the capacity to operate instruments, like those who play music and use computers. I always tell people that I'm one of those, I'm just dumb in that area. I'm a dumbo in the area of operating machines. Accordingly, the measures of intelligence that we know include the familiar one of IQ, which is the ability to understand and recall information, which you need to succeed at least as Professor Ngozi said, to go fast, but not to go far yet. That is the IQ. The emotional quotient is the ability to understand your own emotions, regulate them, and be less self-centered. Whereas social quotient is the ability to apply this in the larger world, the ability to relate with other people, to live harmoniously with them, to be a leader, actually. But to me, to be kind, to be considerate, to be tolerant and respectful of different opinions. This idea of being kind and considerate is so important to my life, you know. I always say that human beings must be kind. You can't avoid being kind to your fellow human beings. If you lack that quality, then there is a problem. So you must be kind. I like to emphasize that. People must be kind. Adversity quotient is, as I said, the capacity to be conscientious, to be resilient, that the ability to bounce back in the face of adversities. Next slide. In the remainder of this lecture, I will show how the concepts of emotional and social intelligence can be welded together with the popular theory of the personality traits we have in psychology by Costa and McRae. And I'll weld this together to see, and that's the highlight of the lecture, really. That's what social engineering can look like from the perspective of psychological medicine. We want to see how we can use the exam theories to articulate a set of values that can govern people's behavior to produce an effective, socially intelligent university community. So let's see how we can relate the attributes of social intelligence, emotional intelligence, and the big five personality traits, which are much more genetic actually. Social intelligence and emotional intelligence are more learned. And how we can use this to articulate values by which societies can live to make a harmonious environment. The content of mindfulness in the title is an indication that what is involved in building this desirable community is a focused, systematically organized and enduring action, not random momentary acts. So the term social intelligence was introduced by Edmund Thorndike in 1920. I won't go into detail about that. But this idea has now been popularized by somebody who used to be a correspondent in New York Times, which is a paper I read every day. This man is called Daniel Goleman. He's still alive. In his books, Emotional Intelligence and Social Intelligence. Goleman has expanded the term to include the ability to understand and manage one's emotions and behaviors, and also to navigate social situations effectively by interpreting the emotions, intentions, and behaviors of others. It involves a combination of skills such as reading non-verbal cues. You know, when you come to a gathering of people or when you meet with your fellow human beings, you look at their faces. They are not talking to you, or they don't have to talk to you, and you instantly understand what's going on in their minds or in their psyche. This is social intelligence. The ability to listen to others. Human beings, many of us are not able to listen. And if you can't listen, well, first of all, if you can't listen, you can't be a psychiatrist anyway. You can't be a proper psychiatrist or psychologist. And I think you also cannot be a proper teacher in other spheres like gynecology and pharmacology. So we need to be able to listen to other people. So we need to be able to have empathy and awareness of social rules. These are all components of social intelligence, so that ultimately it enables the building of harmonious relationships and is a learned ability that develops through experience. So social intelligence involves empathy, in short, social awareness and adaptability. And these are things that are built up, they are learned, as I will show from the biological perspective. Next slide, please. So emotional intelligence, on the other hand, is situated in private space of the individual's emotional body or psyche, and is the foundation on which social intelligence is built. I have to say that you can't have social intelligence if you don't have emotional intelligence. So that these two concepts, social and emotional intelligence, are actually interrelated. So we need to elaborate further on emotional intelligence in order to be able to understand social intelligence. And that's what the next slide is about. So in my own way of doing things as a teacher, I like to have acronyms. An acronym I've developed from the literature, looking at the basic constituents of the idea of emotional intelligence is the acronym AMSE, so that you have to be self-aware, first of all. You have to be aware of your own emotions. You have to be aware of the environment around you. But especially your own, you must handle your emotions, as we call it. And you have to be able to regulate it so that it's not at the drop of a hat, you blow your top, you have to be, or you get too happy, as I get myself sometimes. You have to be able to regulate your own emotions, knowing that there are circumstances that are fit for a particular expression of any emotions. You have to be motivated. You have to be motivated in order to transcend the negative emotions and achieve the task at hand. S stands for social skills, what Alba Bandura calls self-efficacy. We all need the capacity to, the faith that we can accomplish those tasks we're doing. For instance, we are doing this webinar now. You have to be confident in yourself that you can actually do it, especially if you have a team like Tingozi has now. But the most important thing to me, as I've said, is empathy. You have to be empathetic. You have to be selfless or altruistic. You have to care for the feelings of other people. You have to know that you are not the only person in the world that needs attention and all that. Social intelligence includes all these attributes and is believed to be learned from experience as a skill that improves over time. And I'm going to prove from the point of view of psychobiology, which is really my interest. I'm going to prove that these skills are learned. So they are inculcated through interactions with people and learning from social experience, whether successes or failures. In other words, you don't just learn from your success, you also learn from your failures. A very great person whom I admire very much when he was alive, the late Chief Lawson, told us once that, you are failing in something because you just have not learned from it. So if you are failing in something, it means you have not learned, and you should continue to learn and succeed. Social intelligence also includes consciously trying to see things from another person's point of view and increasing one's understanding of different cultural norms. This is at the root of the problems we have in society. With people being narcissistic, that is, being just focused on yourself, the need of your little self and all that. Whereas you are not the only one in this world, in this society, and that your own rights must end where other people's rights begin. Their own rights cannot trample upon the rights, to life by other people around you. So these are just thoughts. We have to understand what are the things that prevent human beings from exercising social intelligence attributes in the community. In my understanding, and that this is not surprising being a Nigerian, the main militating factor is scarcity. Whenever there is scarcity, it breeds acrimonious competition for resources or social positions that are perceived to be scarce. Like we say, when the wind blows, we see everything in a human being. Once there is scarcity, the worst instincts in us come. Whereas biology, that's nature, has also equipped us to be able to see the good sides and to be able to make do with, to be creative in situations of scarcity. And there's an adage that goes in that way that says that necessity is the mother of invention. But usually people, when they have necessities, the very bad angels in them are provoked. The next militating factor to me is fear of the neighbor who is perceived as being different from us, either in tribalism, or race, or even in religious affiliation. Can you imagine that? Religion, divides us so terribly. We all understand the ravages of these forces in the context of the multicultural Nigerian nation. I suggest that the masses in Nigeria are not yet in the revolutionary position of being conscious of the social inequities of wealth and social class. So the differences in wealth and social class, they don't even divide us so much in this country. You can live side by side with rich people. Poor people like me continually live by the side of rich people, and we're okay. For instance, when I was at the University of Ibadan, I lived at one of the benighted streets. If we know a University of Ibadan, the Obadam area, where, anyway, let's not go there. But I'm saying that these social inequities of wealth and social class, the masses of Nigeria are not really very keen on that. What they are keen on is tribe, religion. So you notice how the political class, they cross from one political party to the other with nothing attached to, ideology. And the masses simply shrug it off. So always, as I said, it's about tribe and now state of origin and religion that divides us. When I was growing up, state of origin did not divide us because there were very few states, so we belong to regions. In order to articulate how to implement the principles of social intelligence, we have to understand the characteristics of the fuller man. That's the personality that needs to grow in emotional and social intelligence. So that brings us to the next slide, where we now talk more biologically. The biological talk is on what psychologists have found to be the basic framework for human being who is relating with you. That basic framework of the personality, our best understanding comes from Costa and McRae in their Big Five. That's just the name of the thing, because there are 5 factors they have mentioned, which I will show soon now. So these 5 factors or traits, or let me just say factors of personality or expressions, they are highly researched, and they have the respect of time. So they tell us most about our personality and individual differences. Now that is represented by acronym OCEAN. Psychology students are very aware of this OCEAN, and O stands for open to experience. That is their capacity to simply think broadly and welcome ideas. This is like we see in artists with philosophers, although some people are very rigid in their minds, you know, but that capacity to be open to experience is an important one. Conscientiousness, your capacity, like our Vice Chancellor, for instance, is punctuality. I'm sorry to be referring to that, but I have to because it's a very practical demonstration for us. He was there before all of us, like a lark. That's conscientiousness, and that's what is needed. Extroversion, or your degree of social engagement and effectiveness, so that you're out in the community and you are able to live with people. This is opposite to being a monk, for instance. Agreeableness, your capacity to actively with others and not be bringing up, you know, your own things and putting up your own ideology and separating us. Your capacity to come to the middle point, that's agreeableness, the middle point of a social relationship. Okay. Wait, I didn't put on. Okay. Sorry, my battery was running low. So the mechanics for building a socially intelligent community. So how can we use these principles, social, emotional intelligence, and the big five personality factors? How can we put them together to overcome the limitations or factors that mitigate our living harmoniously in the community? The answer is that it starts with each member of the community being ready to grow in their consciousness. Look, we are Homo sapiens. The most important thing about us is not really any other thing but the consciousness that we carry. How much we are aware of the world around us, how much we are integrating, and how much we know, how much we're able to rise to higher heights. These are all components of our consciousness. So we have to be ready to grow in this ability, just like we grow our muscles when we do physical exercise and all that. We need to grow in that direction. But we only need a sufficient number of people, a critical mass of people in the community, especially in leadership positions, like definitely you have in Uniport, to inculcate the principles of these emotional levels of intelligence and the higher elements of B5 personality traits. So it hasn't got to be all of us doing the same thing. We just need a critical mass of people to imbibe these traits, which research has shown to be strongly predictive of workplace harmony and productivity. So the issue now is how can we introduce these related concepts to a lay audience? That is, how can we leave the heights of psychology and biology and come down to where people belong? So what I've done is to develop a third layer of related traits, which are in popular language, as in the tables and figures, and the table and the figure below. So I hope that this is clear to all, but this will be my contribution to science, let's say, to social relationships, where you can see on the left side of this table, you see the elements of emotional and social intelligence, the 5 of them, the acronym that I put forth, 5 of them, and then to match them with the personality traits, the big 5, and then social value equivalence, and then action. So let's start from the right side, the 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth column on the right of this table. You find out what this lecture is about is really right human relations, how we live together harmoniously, rightly. That's what this lecture is about. Now, that is based principally on our respect for one another. If you don't respect people unconditionally, you can't relate with them, you know? And what is this respect based on? We now come to the column on big 5 personality traits is agreeableness, and the emotional foundation for it is the first column on the left, empathy. I'm just trying to say that as a psychobiologist, I can tell you what we know is that this idea of personality traits, they are biological. They are from our genes. Yes, our genes, our parents, our community, the pool of genes. Why do I say the pool of genes? Because you go to some communities and say, oh, these people are warlike. And you go to some communities, like if you go to certain, like Tibet, for instance, you find that people are very calm and peaceful. So there's what you call a gene pool for which everybody is affected. And this is very well known in especially epigenetics, you know. So even if you don't get it directly from your the proper DNA, you get it from the coverings of the genes. The environment affects you, your gene expression in that way. I'm sure that geneticists among us will understand what I mean. What I'm trying to say is that the big 5 personality traits are inheritable. They are inheritable, whereas it is on the basis of these big 5 personality traits that we have the potential to generate or build the emotional and social intelligence. In other words, emotional and social intelligence are actually learned behavior, but they are based on what we have inherited. All we know is that we can try. But you see that when we talk about emotional intelligence and social intelligence, so we talk about the factors on the first column. They are to find the expression in the complementary expressions on the fourth column. So if you are motivated, for instance, you find like, well, we know whom we are talking about, you'll be conscientious. It's actually, as I said, from the genes, you are able to be there in time, for instance, and you work at it, and you are rigorous. And that's where it's expressed. And if you are rigorous, that means you consider all the sides. You look into all the factors in the equation. This result will be balanced view. And that is very important in living in a community, which is different from a community of fundamentalists. Fundamentalists are not balanced in their ways. In anything, they are not balanced. So it doesn't matter what they are fundamentalists about, but they are not balanced. And if you don't have people being balanced, then there is going to be trouble. So that's why I actually believe that the most important factor that can lead a community is actually scientific rigor. I have been promoting the idea of scientific rigor in psychiatry because to me, if you understand the elements of scientific rigor, those are the basis on which a progressive society can function. So scientific rigor, it gives rise to balance. And that's what scientists are. We are balanced, you know, because we are not like lawyers who, I'm sorry about lawyers, but they tend to, they can afford to ignore some evidence because of whatever. A scientist takes in every little evidence, weighs them up, and puts them up in the equation. Social skills, as you can see, that is related to not just extroversion, but your ability to be engaged, in the community. And if you are engaged in the community, that's your sense of service. Then you are responsible. And to be responsible, of course, in a material sense, you need to be resourceful. So the more resourceful you are, like we say, to whom more is given, more is expected. So if we are lucky to be resourceful and acquire material wherewithal, we should be responsible in serving our community. So also is regulation, which is going along with the sense of well-being or neuroticism. That's your capacity to just feel good, what you call subjective quality of life. This gives you the capacity to listen attentively. And when you listen, and only when you listen, limit, to be able to open yourself up to things. I hope my internet is going on well. Awareness, open to experience, rapid attention. Raptor, please, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes, what I've just done now is all that I've said. I put them all together in a figure which can look picture-rich. So it's just saying the same thing, putting them up in a figure. Next slide, please. So we have to look at adages that are related to social intelligence. And that is coming from the wisdom traditions, in order to support these ideals that I've mentioned in my talks above. Next slide, please. Next slide. So those are very, well, for doctors, we're already familiar with the idea of first do no harm. But it appears that we always think about this only when we are dealing with our patients, whereas it should actually be a modus operandi for all of us, human beings. First, do no harm. Don't hurt your fellow human beings. What else you should do? The next thing is the golden rule. Do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. And from the Bible, of course, our beloved Bible, you have love your neighbor as yourself, which is the same thing as the others above. So from our cultural life, we actually have these principles, but we don't pay attention to them when we are relating to our fellow human beings. Next slide, please. So it is now easy to see how being mindful of these adages and welding them together, they can facilitate the incorporation of the ideas of a harmonious and productive university community. This is my gift to this community, because you will not find what I've said in any other place except as I've said them now. So let's now focus more personally on the mental health problems of students. We have been speaking in a general manner, focus on just our emotions. But now I want to speak as a psychiatrist. Based on the above considerations, we can now address the mental health problems of many of our students and staff. In late October, actually, I think it was October 30, our amiable Vice Chancellor, with his firm roots in pharmacology, led the way by holding public seminars on problems posed by the abuse of drugs by our students. Next slide. Next slide, please. I have researched and thought and treated this problem of drug addiction in my long career as a physician scientist. So please, this audience, everybody, just listen to me. I am talking as somebody not theoretical, but a doctor who is involved in this problem. I want to tell you that Any child who gets involved with the use of these drugs, cannabis and other such, that's Indian hemp, other such drugs of abuse, like we have these days, methamphetamine, and so anybody who gets involved in these drugs, that person runs the gravest risk of truncating their careers, their goals in life, their ability to live harmoniously with others, and their mental health. I'm telling you, I'm not joking. In the long run, it is very difficult to have sound physical, psychological, and social health when people use these drugs. It is well nigh impossible. Also, in the long run, the drug catches up with you through something we call dopamine in the brain, even if you seem to be fine in the first few months. So you see all these our children who are doing well apparently as entertainers or so, and they are using these drugs. That is at the beginning. Please follow these children, follow these artists or whatever you want to call them. Follow them to their later lives. See what they become. What do they become in their physical and mental health? What do they become in their social relationships? So the glitter of when they were young and the brain was still okay, beclouds us and confuses all the other admiring youths. Whereas they will not be there to see the end of the trajectory of these human beings. They become wrecks, and this is not a joke. The agony of parents, guardians, and other family members is enormous, especially as these children become unproductive, and the exhausted parents have to shoulder the burden of pain for these mostly ungrateful adults, and that is their characteristic. They are utmostly ungrateful. I am not sounding alarmist, for I'm also a victim. I shoulder the burden of assuaging the emotional distress of the parents and wives, so I'm also involved. This is what I deal with daily in my clinical practice, and it's always distressing to see the agony of the relatives of these children who decide to throw away everything they have going for them just for a puff. Just for a puff. These children throw away everything that's going on well for them. Everything. This is a very annoying. I get emotional on this matter. Why? Because this is what I am living with daily in my life as a clinician. And my life doesn't really consist of any other thing except being a clinician and a grandfather. The new instigation of drug addiction, please, is a wide popularity of online trading and fraudulent activities. This Yahoo thing. My people, this is our new finding. When we were growing up, there was no Yahoo. These children tell you that they take these drugs to keep awake at night, to link up with their clients in foreign time zones. That's what they say. Whereas the fallacy is that if you take these drugs anyway, you are not going to be talking in a coherent and a creative manner to your, clients, so-called. This is just some fabrication that these children make that is not based on reality of their lives. Accordingly, any student who gets involved in these activities is in the greatest danger of drug addiction. Unfortunately, many of these youths, as they tell me, are actually breadwinners for their families because they get money from these fraudulent activities. They buy cars, they sponsor their parents, they even sponsor their own education until they drop out. They always drop out by their numbers. In other words, of course, I'm seeing a slice of them, those who do very badly. So next slide, please. Next slide. The better known instigator is involvement in secret cult activities. That's what we've been advertising in all university campuses, starting from Ibadan, where I belong. If you come to the University of Ibadan Gate, you see this big signpost about drug addiction. Now, that's what we've known. But we didn't know that this Yahoo thing is a new thing. We must not relent in preventing our students from engaging in these activities. We can't stop. We can't give up like they've given up in America and Europe and everywhere. We don't have the capacity to give up like those communities gave up. Those communities gave up because if a child is on drug addiction, they don't have to live with their parents. The social security environment will pay them salaries, put them in council flats and all that. Where are you going to get council flats in Nigeria? It is the poor parents who carry the burden. So we cannot give up. We can't. The gateway to these drugs is often the socially accepted use of cigarettes, despite the clear warning of Federal Ministry of Health on its part that it is dangerous to take this stuff. I tell my patients and their relatives the following things based on research and my clinical experience. Please, my people, this is what I say on a daily basis. So it just comes as second nature to me. I can even close my eyes and say it. And there are points that I make one by one. The first one is that drug addiction is a lifelong problem with poor prognosis. Why do I say that? Relatives often come to you and say, doctor, can we find us something to flush the drug from this person's system? You know, this is a fallacy. And there are actually health personnel who promote this, who tell you, oh, we admit you will flush it. Please, this is fraud to tell anybody that you can flush drug out of them. This is absolute fraud. Because drug addiction is a brain disease in which the drug takes over the most emotional functioning of the brain through dopamine, and it is difficult for the individual to regain control. If you look at PET scans, you find that it takes at least 14 months after quitting drug use for the metabolic processes of the brain to regain control. So, my people, this is not just a moral issue. It is a brain disease. Hence, it is well nigh impossible for the addict to quit on their own volition. And the natural history is a tendency to relentlessly return to the use of the drug, even after spending time in so-called rehabilitation centers. And I'm really calling them so-called rehabilitation centers. A major fundamental characteristic is the incessant desire to satisfy the oral appetite. And some people will call them what Freud introduced, Sigmund Freud, called orality. So they are fixated at the desire to satisfy their appetite. These people are eating. In my hospital, I call them rats. You know, a rat is eating. They can't stop eating. They can't think of anything. They must put something into the mouth. Hence, there's a necessity to be disciplined about food, about the use of telephone. This is another new thing. And then intoxicating behaviors, what I call dopamine fasting. What do I call this new thing now? The use of telephone. You find children, even adults, who tell you, oh, they drop their phone only when they are sleeping. What the hell? This is a terrible thing, you know? You have to put on the phone by 8 or 9, whenever I listen to the news, and for kingdom's sake, allow your brain processes to reconstitute, you know, to get themselves okay. Okay? So please put this terrible phone off, switch off the social media where you don't learn anything good anyway. I don't know of anybody who learns anything good from the social media. So I'm not saying we should cancel them because I'm a liberal myself, but we have to regulate these behaviors. They are killing us. After discharge from rehabilitation, the patient has to be closely monitored at home for several months because any chance he gets to be free to take the drug is a danger moment for relapse. I think Ngozi gave us a story of a child who killed herself in at Ife. The story I have myself is my patients are discharged from my hospital. I say, look, you stay with this boy. Don't let him go anywhere. And they say, okay. And the child comes and says, oh, Dad, let me just buy pure water outside here. And he's gone from there. Because he goes to buy pure water, he buys pure Colorado, pure SK, any of those nonsense things, and the people who are selling these things are very much around. I don't know why the community tolerates these human beings who are poisoning our children. I don't know. Communities should just wake up and get rid of them. You should get. I don't mean getting rid of killing them. I mean deal with them by law enforcement methods. So you after discharge, as I said, you have to closely monitor these children. Don't let them get a chance to go out without supervision. You must be engaged with them moment by moment because the drug is still working on the brain through a dopamine that has been distorted. It is no longer a normal dopamine. Well, dopamine, I mean the neurotransmitters that are involved in our motivational experience. Next slide, please. So the best predictor of abstinence anyway, that is, you are not using drug, is to be in regular contact with the treatment team. You see, this is what studies have shown us. Of all the things, all the maneuvers we do, the most important thing is that people need to attend clinic follow-up. If they default, they are in trouble. If they default, they are in trouble. You have to follow them up. The relatives, you see, the problem is, I say all these things, believe me, every day. And 3/4 of parents, anyway, they just go away. Where do they go to? They go to churches where they told them, where they tell, oh, you've been delivered, their child has been delivered. He's been clean now. It's okay, no problem. And I tell them that this is very wrong because the great Jesus, our Lord, said, once you have been treated, you have to go and report to the priest. That was the doctor. You have to go and report now. That means follow up. Jesus never said he treated you and you were clean to go home. No. And that's the story of the lepers who came back. You have to do follow up. So the patient has to be mandated to attend clinic regularly and be on follow-up medications. If this is not done, the danger is that the patient will go back. As the saying goes, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. Hence, there's need for engagement in positively productive activity. It takes a character to be involved in drug abuse. Now, I was talking about so-called rehabilitation centers. Believe me, as I said, I'm one of the most senior doctors in this thing now. These programs, they lack this point I'm trying to talk about. That is changing the personality. It takes a personality to be involved in using drugs. For instance, if we have cannabis now, or even cocaine, in front of 10 of us, it's not all of us who will take it. I think a majority of us will not take it. Some people will go and take it. For whatever, they will give a reason, but that reason is bogus. It's not useful. So you cannot leave a rehabilitation center without this attempt to inculcate uplifting characteristics as I've listed in table 1. You know, principally, you have to lose it. You have to lose a sense of entitlement to endless family assistance. These children come to the point where now, you know, they've so exhausted everybody that they want you to now be helping them. So they have to lose that. They have to generate a sense of gratitude to the family. You know, I always tell my people, you know, our people are very religious. Anything that happens, they go to church to go and give testimony and to thank God, which is excellent. But I also tell them that if God is asking us to show gratitude to Him, the Almighty, why not our little families, our parents, our mothers, our beleaguered wives? Why don't you find it necessary to do what you are doing to God? The God Almighty is requiring. Why is your father and mother not requiring it? Why is it wrong for them to require it? That's the question I ask my patients. Conscientiousness and compassion for the feelings of family members. These children, if you come in contact with them, you find that, first of all, they have no sense of conscientiousness. Time means nothing to them. A sense of responsibility means nothing to them. And most importantly, they have no single feelings for the feeling of their family members. So these are things that a therapist has to focus attention on when they leave your place. The other set of mental health problems that students have to deal with are more personal, including the difficulty of material survival because of poor financial support. You know, there are children who say that they are on formula 001. That's they eat only in the evening, they can afford only one square meal. These things are going on in our country, but I'm sure it's going on in other countries where people don't have family or scholarship support. These are real things, and these are very distressing experiences. Then there's the tedium and stress of attending several lectures and assignments. Well, this is more for medical students, you know. It's quite a tough thing to live the life of a medical student. I can tell you as an experience, especially in prelim. We did prelim at Ibadan, and you have to stay 6 hours in the laboratory with Father Foley in his chemistry lab and all that. And you came out, you were bruised. You learned to, but you were bruised. So the tedium and stress of attending these lectures. Then you have others may be coping with bullying. I have a patient of mine who simply dropped out from a university which I won't mention, because his colleagues were bullying him. Either they were cult members or whatever. Nobody could listen to him, so he dropped out. So, and there's also the idea of emotional and sexual abuse, especially for the girls. Lecturers are doing these horrible things, you know. They are doing it. And this is not new, it's well known. I don't know why people feed on their students. I don't know. But maybe those people shouldn't be with us. They shouldn't be answering academics as I answer an academic. How can you be feeding on your own child? People abuse, lecturers abuse their students. They charge them money for exams, what they call sorting. Thank God it can't happen in a medical school anyway, because in a medical school, we don't have one lecturer only doing a course. We have several lecturers. So how many lecturers are you going to bribe? But where lecturers are more solo, then those things are very much open to abuse. But Vice Chancellor should please take note of this. We have too many examples. It's a very well-known thing that children are asked to pay money to be given marks. This is not an allegation. This is a very well-known point, and this is a very distressing thing to students. These factors erode the coping ability of people, and they could be a risk for anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, like Auntie Ngozi told us, poor performance at work, and then inability to carry on with their studies. These issues are worsened by the fact that many of these people suffer silently and are afraid to bring the attention of the appropriate authorities or their parents to their problems. If you ask me, that's even a more difficult problem, that these children suffer silently. The more specific answer is in the response of our Vice Chancellor in pioneering public discussion on the matter. I would really like to thank this Vice Chancellor once again. Thank you very much, sir. And in the program of mental well-being by the Nimi Briggs chair, using the principles of promotion of mental health in focusing on modalities for building resilience among staff and students. Next slide, please. Next slide. Hello, next slide, please. These modalities include, these are principles to call mental health promotion. Healthy food habits, junk food from time to time, but please, these are dangerous. They are dangerous things. Previous slide, please. Hello. We have to have a program of regular physical exercise, like Professor Nimi Briggs was shown to be climbing obstacles. Adequate sleep, people don't sleep, they put their phones on their beds, which I think is the worst habit on earth. To sleep with your phone on your bed is dangerous. You should stop it. I listen to classical and instrumental music. It warps this and makes your bodies to feel okay. Now we have to avoid these superstitious and harmful thoughts. Like we promote movie magic. I mean, African movie magic, where everything that happens to you on earth is caused by your fellow human beings. Nothing that happens to you is traceable to your own sense of irresponsibility. Believe me, I'm a Democrat, but if I were to be a president, I will ban such movies. They are doing terrible things to our psyche. They are telling us that we are not responsible for our actions. They are promoting what we may call external locus of control. That is, our lives are regulated by what others are doing instead of taking responsibility. So you fail exam, and if you come from a polygamous family, it's because the other wife doesn't want your mother to do well. It's not because you didn't attend lectures and read their books. Media tirades, these social media things are horrible. Okay? Hello? I'm not seeing the sharing again. Hello? Please love your neighbor as yourself. Yeah. Believe me, one of the most healing things on earth is to love your neighbor as yourself. I don't need to elaborate on that. We are adults in this world. Loving your neighbor as yourself. Counseling unit of the university has to keep its doors open and encourage students to patronize its service. The general answer to the question I pose is in the points we have raised in building a socially intelligent community using the tools that are outlined. Next slide, please. Hello.
Coming up.
Yeah. To me, and this is my most important slide because it's more like a summary of conclusion. The most important of these values that I've outlined is unconditional respect for our fellow human beings and the necessity to be kind to others, empathy. In other words, like it said in the Bible, charity is the most important thing. That's why it was put up there. You can have every gift on earth, but you don't have charity, kindness to your fellow human beings. It's all vanity. Human beings have to be kind. I'll continue to emphasize this. We have to avoid hurting our fellow human beings. All this translates to right human relationships, which form the bedrock of a peaceful and productive community. Next slide, please. At the biological level, archaeologists and anthropologists have shown that man is essentially a social animal. We thrive best in community. Communal living, as these specialists have shown us, is what is responsible for the exponential growth of the cerebral mantle that distinguishes man from his cousin apes. Believe me, that's why we are called Homo sapiens. It is the benefit of living in the community. And scientists have said that that evolutionary step stems from living in the community. We learn best in the community. So where we learn from, where we live in, we have to make it to be harmonious, to be peaceful. We learn most and flourish in social communities. Hence, we are actually biologically driven to be mindful, to make our communities socially intelligent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Jude Uzoma Ohere. You have truly shown us today that you are the doyen of psychiatry and psychology. If it was in a physical meeting now, we'll be standing up to give you a standing ovation. But you can see that you're having an clapping ovation. We're utterly grateful for having delivered such an enlightening lecture to a topic that's very topical at the moment. Most of the comments, oh, sorry, sir, please have some water, please. You talked for a while and we could notice that you were getting a little bit, so let's say tired. Thank you so much. During the Student Union Week, if our dear Vice Chancellor permits, and if you, Professor Jude, will be able to come over to give a physical lecture on this. Then one of the questions that came up said to you, is it possible for the effects of these drugs on the brain to reverse after the victim stops the drug, and for how long?
Can I answer?
Yes, yeah. Please.
Yes, as I told you, it's not a conjecture. Our Vice Chancellor, as a pharmacologist, knows what to mean by positron emission tomography scan. The pharmacologists are now one of the most famous users of that technology. And it is being used to map the brain of people who take these substances in comparison with people who don't use this substances. Look, the picture is gory. It is gory. These drugs, they take over the brain by force. They take over the brain by force. So that everything you have doing in your life is no longer important. It is these drugs, you know? So it is possible. Only after months. The best longitudinal study we have is the one that followed up to 14 months and say that after 14 months, you are free, okay? But what's the reality? The reality is that these children, once you get them out of so-called rehabilitation, the next week, they are back at it. So the 14 months, will start again after that, you know. So by research, I would say yes, it is possible after at least 14 months. But in practice, it is not possible because these children continue to do this. And this is not just for cannabis. The final common pathway for them is dopamine. They hook onto dopamine and snuff it out. So yes, if they can stay off from drugs long enough, they can be well. Now let's give you famous examples. You know about Barack Obama. He's written in his book, so we are not slandering him, that he was on these things until his wife, Michelle, said, okay, if you take this drug again, oh, me and you will get trouble. And he says he's afraid of Michelle, so he doesn't take it, okay? We also know George W. Bush was still a living president. You know the Ronald Reagan, who was the boss of his father when he was vice president. George Bush was actually a drunkard, and then he stopped. He stopped when he was 40 and he never drank again. And you will find in those days, as we are told, when he was president, whenever people were passing drinks, he had a glass of water. And of course, his wife, Laura, was by his side, and they guarded him. He will never take. So it is not too bad if you can stop, but it is too bad because it is difficult to stop. So to round it up, it is good, it is possible and it is well nigh impossible. It is possible if you can obey those points I put on. That is, don't give these people any chance. And they attend clinics and they are dry for at least 14 months. Then by the grace of God, they can go on. But if you are not able to do that, then please be prepared. But what do I tell relatives? I tell them that, yes, it is bad, but the only way out is to continue bringing them back for treatment, because not to bring them to treatment is not an option. If you don't bring them to treatment, they will be on the streets. Their lives will be lost. But it is hopeful from our experience that the more you bring them to treatment, then the more they learn to abstain until finally one day, the grace of God will touch them and they will stop. But it's not an option to just leave them alone and tell them to go to hell. Yeah, you might do that as a way of talking.
Okay.
But
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. If we go on, we will not stop today. The comments have been very enlightening, and you have your students here, your mentees. They also tell you thank you for the great lecture. And the final question says, can the Youth Center in University of Port Harcourt have a mental wellness session where students can drop in for mental counseling and support? That is the whole essence of this webinar. We're going to have interdepartmental collaboration. I'm sure that the Youth Center already has wellness sessions. We just have to make it more publicized so that the students will know that they have a place to drop in. But if it's non-existent, we will always set up one with them. Please, thank you very much, everyone, for listening to all this, our insightful talks. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Now we want to have a response by the family. We have in this webinar today the children of Professor Emeritus Nimi Briggs, the person of Nina, Boma, and Kika. And I believe that Nina will be the one to give us a response by the family. Nina, please, over to you. Thank you. Hello? Response by the family, please. Okay, we'll go on to have the vote of thanks.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, it appears this is Boma. I don't know if I'm audible.
Boma, we can hear you. Go on, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. And sorry, it appears probably Nina is not somewhere he can speak right now. Good morning, everybody. Please permit me to stand on existing protocol. My name is Boma Briggs. Professor Nimi Briggs's daughter, one of his daughters. I just want to say thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you very much, guest lecturer. Thank you very much, dear VC, and every other principal officer that has made this possible. This has been such a refreshing and wholesome session. It is quite interesting and quite a beautiful thing to see that where the activities of the chair are expanding into the digital universe, which is exactly where the world is going. And it is wonderful to see that the pioneer, the very first, is in such a crucial aspect, being mental health. Mental health is real, mental health is really serious, and mental health cuts across every single sphere of life in today's day and age. I am very grateful and I commend the efforts of the country chair for bringing this into the digital space, because it is quite critical, and that is how the reach of the activities and the impact of the chair will be even much more broadly felt. So this, I believe, is the first of many, and it is quite fortuitous that the very first, the pioneer lecture, the first lecture digitally is on mental health. Quite timely, quite useful, very grateful, very enriching. Everyone that has made this possible, on behalf of the family, we say thank you, we appreciate this, and we believe that we will keep going on to propagate this and have positive impact on the society at large. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Boma. This well received. Thank you very much. And I wish to also state here that we have audience from all over the world. We have people from United States of America, Australia, United Kingdom, and West Africa as well. So it just goes to show the beauty of a digital presentation, as you stressed. And by God's grace, this is just the first of many. Please, I would like to invite next the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Development, who happens to be the chairman of the management committee for the professorial chairs, University of Port Harcourt, including ours, to give us the vote of thanks before our erudite Vice Chancellor gives us the closing remarks for the day. I thank you all for your patience and for having enjoyed this webinar so far. So please, Professor Angela Briggs, can you give us the vote of thanks? Okay. Can we have the provost of the College of, I think she has stepped out, provost of the College of Health Sciences, Professor Ngozi Ekeke? Please do give us the vote of thanks. Please, can Professor Ngozi Ekeke, Provost College of Health Sciences, give us the vote of thanks, please? Professor Ekeke, can you hear me?
I'm on. You know, the thing went off. Everything went off.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
I'm
Deputy
on.
Vice Chancellor, Professor Angela from Briggs, please, can we have your vote of thanks? This is part of the little duties with the digital presentations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma.
Let me stand on the existing protocol already well established by our Vice Chancellor. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure this afternoon to express our heartfelt appreciation to all those who have made today's webinar such a rich and interesting and inspiring experience. First of all, I want to extend our deepest gratitude to our Vice Chancellor, Professor Unare Abraham Georgeville, for his visionary leadership and for always championing initiatives that promote holistic development in our university. Sir, your unwavering support and encouragement continue to create the fertile ground on which ideas such as today's thrive. Sir, Professor Jude O'Harry, our distinguished speaker, our sincere appreciation really go to you for your insightful and thought-provoking presentation. You have broadened our understanding of mindfulness, compassion, and social intelligence, virtues that are indispensable in nurturing a healthy academic and social environment. We are really, really grateful. I believe that most of the things that you have discussed, they are really with us in our environment. We want to thank you, sir, for such insights. We also acknowledge with deep gratitude the family of the professorial chair for their generous endowment and commitment to advancing scholarship and dialogue on vital issues affecting our university community. The family, we appreciate you so much. Your investment in knowledge continues to yield valuable fruits, and we promise you that we will do more. Thank you so much. To the chair occupants, Professor Ngozi Orazulike, we say a heartfelt thank you to your dedication, your coordination and compassion that made this event a success. Your efforts have ensured that the chair's vision continues to have meaningful impacts. Since you were appointed as the chair occupant, you have continued to drive a lot of very educative programs, especially this first webinar. We want to say thank you. And finally, to our distinguished audience, the staff, students, guests, thank you for your time, for being with us since about 10 a.m. up till this moment. Thank you for your rapt attention, for participation. Your engagement is the true measure of today's success. And we hope the ideas shared here will inspire each of us to contribute to building a more mindful, compassionate, and socially intelligent university community. Once again, thank you all. And may the spirit of today's discussion continue to guide our thoughts and actions. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Development, for this vote of thanks. I want to say that there will be a recording of this webinar and to be sent to everyone that registered for it, because people have been asking if they can also get the slides and the recording, as well as to say that all our activities can be found at the Nimi Briggs chair.unipod.edu.ng. That's our website, which is also affiliated to nimibriggs.org and then the university website. So you can follow us there to see what we're up to. And we ask for strategic partnerships and collaborations. We all know that the day is fast spent, and our digital vice chancellor has a lot of activities. Like I told you earlier, he has that gift of bilocation. So he's able to be in different places at the same time. I'll probably have to ask our DVC, Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Professor Onyaso, to give us closing remarks, and then we end the webinar. Sir, sorry to have been putting you on the spot, but I know you can do this. Professor Onyaso, sir.
Good morning, everybody.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, I want to sincerely appreciate our guest lecturer, the Dean of Psychiatry, Nigeria, and beyond, for such a beautiful, enlightening lecture we had today. I want to also appreciate our chair occupant for making this possible. And of course, everyone that have been part of this event. I want to appreciate all of us and hope that this will have been a worthwhile event.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Sadly, we have to come to the end of this webinar. I thank you all for having attended, and I hope you have taken away more than one or two things from this webinar. Please, mental health is very important. Let us all join hands to ensure that we create that mindful campus, building on what we have learned from our great lecturer today, to make our university community socially intelligent. Once again, please, our thanks to Professor Ohere for giving us this great and insightful lecture. And thank you to all of you for having listened to the very end. We are super grateful. Please visit our website for further communications. Thank you, and please enjoy the rest of your day and week indeed. I think the next time we have to play the national anthem and the university anthem to conclude. That is how we always end our university program. So please, our university anthem.
We hail thee, our own dear native land, though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians old and proud to serve our sovereign motherland.
University anthem.
On the green lowlands and swampy plains of the New Calabar River stands the University of Port Harcourt, a citadel of learning and excellent education. Academic enthusiasts, searching for knowledge and wisdom, enlightenment, peace and reliance on mission. Our hope in the future is rooted in love and love. The vision of our Father shining in the sky. Opportunity for living our progenies
Christianity, prisons of the universe,
and be the pride of unicorn.
Thank you all. Professor Emeritus Nimi Briggs lives on. Long live University of Port Harcourt. Long live Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you. Don't forget, our next event will be a physical lecture, University of Port Harcourt, February 2026, the third legacy lecture of Nimi Briggs. I'll invite you all as we get closer to time and we have another captivating speaker. Thank you. Goodbye. The webinar ends now. Thank you.